first female chairman and CEO in the auto industry. In 2014, Mary Barra became the CEO of General Motors, an icon of American industry, with 225,000 employees and selling 10 million vehicles globally last year. I love cars, so I love the business. It's kind of addicting. Barra's leadership was tested early in her tenure. During her first year as CEO, GM recalled 30 million cars worldwide. They caused 124 deaths. We failed these customers, and we must face up to it, and we must learn from it. Barra testified before Congress. GM paid $900 million in government fines. In 2009, before she became CEO, GM filed for bankruptcy. But under Barra, GM seems to be making a comeback with a net revenue of $166 billion last year. Did you always know you wanted to go into this work? Well, I love math and science. My love of math and science got me here. Barra grew up in Michigan. Her father was a die maker at GM, and she began her career at GM in 1980 when she was just 18. You started here as an intern and you've worked your way up. What have you learned along the way? Growing up at General Motors and progressing through to this position, it's all about people. From factory floor to industrial engineers, Barra is pushing for more women to be in leadership roles at GM. I've engaged the top 40 women in the company to specifically say, okay, what can we do to make sure we're building the pipeline of women? Barra is one of 3 female CEOs on President Trump's economic forum. How important is it for women to have a seat at that table? I think it's very important. And I think it's important for business leaders to come together and really provide input. This past January, after Barra was already named to the forum, GM made headlines when the president tweeted a threat promising big border taxes if GM continued to make vehicles in Mexico. Have you changed the way you do business because of this administration? Right now, 70% of the vehicles we sell in the United States we build here. We haven't changed anything, but we continue to look at ways we can improve that are going to help the country be stronger. Barra's mentor, her mother. When you started studying engineering, there weren't many women in the field. You're absolutely right. There weren't that many women studying it. But my mom just always said you can be or do whatever you want to be, but you got to work hard. And so I think when I looked around, I didn't. It wasn't something where I said I can't do this because I don't see other women. The 55-year-old mother of 2 is passionate about advancing STEM education for girls: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Education is one of my passions. And because STEM, I believe so strongly that no matter what industry you're in, technology is causing it to transform. As a woman, were there ever times you heard no's or felt like your voice wasn't heard along this journey? Oh, absolutely. There were times where, there's times where you have to just go in and make sure you're heard. It's one of the things I also mentor young women. Be present at the table. Make sure your voice is heard. No matter what you choose to do in life, pursue it with passion and hard work. As a female first in the auto industry and with 37 years at GM, Barra hopes her career path encourages young women. What do you hope young women and girls watching get from your story? That they can do or be anything they want, but they need to work hard. I encourage them. Take those positions that give you a little bit of that, feeling in your stomach of nervousness, because that's where you're going to learn so much, and it's going to really help your career.
So that's the Mary Bear video. I really liked that one. Looked at a lot of different videos, and then I thought we should have some comic relief. I don't know if anyone saw this last week, but this was high comedy for me. It's a Zoom comedic thing, really.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to
We're trying to, can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It has, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here, she's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that.
I county attorney for the fourth largest county in Texas, so it's big, and I came down to another city here, the city, logged into my secretary's computer, and gonna appear at this hearing at 11 o'clock via Zoom. And when everybody's ready, the judge calls the case, and everybody's face is supposed to pop up on Zoom. We've all done it. And everybody's face popped up except mine. Mine was a cat. And I was like, oh, what's this? And you know, I'm a computer literate, but I'm not a techie. I didn't know how to take the filter off. I didn't even really know what a Zoom filter was. He's got children, and I presume she had it there, a child had it there. She doesn't know, and I don't know. It miraculously appeared.
So that was pretty much it. But that was one of the funniest moments I've seen during the pandemic. Anyway, wanted to pick a few books. These are Jeff's choices. Road to Power about Mary Barra. The Road to the Top is Not on the Map. And then Ladies on the Lot by Helene Lawson. Our disclaimer, go ahead, Jeff.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome. So our typical disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed here are those of our guests and do not necessarily reflect our official policy or position of the AutoHub show. However, we do support women taking over the auto industry. I'm a suck, right? And and of course, the topic of our show today is the real power in auto, women. And we have some very dynamic guests joining us today. And I will start by introducing them. And I do apologize if I get the guests, your names wrong. Joining us as our new winner of our long distance guest furthest away is Sopo Choidze.
Yeah, that's correct.
And she is the co-founder and chief operating officer of Pulsar AI in Tbilisi, Georgia. Sopo, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi everyone. Thank you for the invitation. So I'm Sopo. I'm with Pulsar AI. I started my career in banking. I was working with the leading banks in Georgia, located in Georgia. But then I joined Pulsar, and we have been building products for local market for years now. But in 2019, we essentially scaled and expanded our services across the US. So in short, we create virtual assistant for auto dealers in the US, and we help them to close more deals by creating virtual assistants that respond to their leads 24/7, and we schedule test drives directly in their CRM. So unlike other VAs out there, our products are customizable for each dealers that we work with. And essentially, not only we engage the customer and drive them to the store, but we also follow up with them and try to convert the leads as high as possible.
Great, thank you so much. And we do appreciate you joining us. Is what, probably about 7 or 8 o'clock at night? You're way over where you are?
Yeah, it's 8 p.m. here.
Perfect. And the joke, we were talking earlier, and our joke is it's not Georgia near Atlanta, it's Georgia near the Black Sea.
That's right. Yes.
There we go.
Correct.
Us Canadian kids, we learn things at school. And now our second guest is Sue Finneron, who likes to know herself as Super Sue, a former dealer of, I believe it was Hyundai in Vancouver Island, Canada, and now a faculty member of the Automotive Business School of Canada. Sue, thanks for joining us, and give us a brief introduction of yourself, please.
Great to be here. I started in the car business washing cars when I was 12 years old. I was known at that time as what's called a PhD. So that's Papa has a dealership, for those of you that don't know. We're pretty rare these days. There's not a lot of dealer kids left out there. Anyway, I progressed. I started when I went to the Automotive Business School of Canada back in the late 80s. Yeah. And I went back, worked at my family store, and we sold it a couple years ago. And now I'm thrilled to be back at it's actually Georgian College, so close to Georgia. I'm thrilled to be back at the Automotive Business School of Canada, and I now teach dealership management. So we teach to people that are working in the industry and want to become a dealer, want to become a general manager. A lot of manufacturers around the country now require either this course or NADA. So I'm really enjoying this next version of my career.
Terrific. I have to say, I do remember first time I met you with the auction, and there's 450 men that think they're all that bag of chips, and you walking in front of them into the lanes and outbidding them, and they're all going like, oh. And if she's on it, sometimes they just back off because they know you were that tough. And our third guest is Gail Rubenstein, a good friend of our show, founder of Retail Resilient in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Gail, quick introduction, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Gail Rubenstein, for those of you that I have not met before. I am the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient. We branded ourselves as the most transparent marketing and sales training solution for auto dealers that use social media. So Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all the social platforms. We produce lead generation and then train their sales staff. And we also are the only company in the entire country that has a Facebook school specifically for auto dealers. So I'm really excited about that because it's kind of what we're known for. And I've also been in the industry for 24 years. And although I was not a dealer kid, I wished I would have been. So I was like the one girl that was like, I wish my dad owned a car dealership. I just want to own a dealership. And then lo and behold, I went to go sell cars and worked my way up the ladder. And now I'm doing this. So here we are.
Well, thanks again. Very good. Congratulations on what you've built there. I've certainly been following you along from back when you were my performance rep for V Auto. So
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, another new guest to our show, Cappy Green from Greenlight Professional Development in that sprawling metropolis of Omaha, Nebraska. Cappy, give us a brief introduction, please.
Great. Hi, everybody. It's so good to be here. I actually came into the auto industry about 16 years ago, and I appreciate that you opened the show with Mary Barra because General Motors has indeed been my largest client for the last 16 years. So working with General Motors, I've also done some training for Volkswagen, but the bulk of my work has been with General Motors in process improvement, as well as, Sue, I really appreciate everything that you're doing because I'm working with dealers. The dealers have so much going on, and that whole concept of getting their arms around managing people, our industry has become very high tech, and a lot of what's happened is that the high touch has kind of been forgotten. And so that's where I focus. I am a speaker first and foremost and a facilitator. I have 4 books. I'm working on my 4th book, which will be released this year, called Power of Hello. And for those of you who have been in sales training, you know that the first step is greet the customer. The second step is build rapport. And then they rush right off to the 3rd step. So my focus in the Power of Hello is how do you go about developing that rapport, seeing the customer first as a person, not as a customer. So that's my focus. And I love this. If you would have told me 16 years ago that I was going to be in the car industry, I would have told you were out of your mind. I actually come out of the Fortune 10 industry. I was a corporate trainer for American Express and corporate consultant for American Express. Got laid off in 1993 and said, well, this is no fun. This was my 3rd layoff in 7 years, second from a Fortune 500 company. And I said, well, heck, I'm going to take this on my own. And that's what I've been doing. So I've worked with everything from federal government, US Congress, to local companies and organizations. And like I said, now General Motors, and just having a blast.
That's great. Thank you. It's a good story, and everybody's got terrific stories here, and we quite enjoy that. And we come across all sorts of people on our show from great backgrounds. And if you'd asked me 16 years ago that the president and CEO and chairman of General Motors would be a lady, I would have been surprised. And I've always been one of these people in my many years in the car business, which I won't admit to officially, that it's people in the car business. And I mean, yes, when I started, most of the women, other than support personnel, were salespeople, and some of them were the powerhouses, some of the biggest performers, or unfortunately, they got out of the business. And all four of you are very successful automotive people that happen to be women. And this is no BS. This is how I view it. You're successful automotive people who happen to be women, and probably successful in spite of the barriers things are built up. So what trials and tribulations did you go through to get where you are today? And we'll start with Sopo, who's been the person waiting the longest.
All right, thank you for the question. So I think one of the biggest challenges that I've had, like when I started my career, right? So when I was attending those meetings with the stakeholders and the board members, it was a male-dominated area, right? So all of the meetings that I attended, all the board meetings that I attended, they were dominated by male. So you have two options right there. You can either be like intimidated and try to be silent, or you can see it as an opportunity. And I myself saw that as an opportunity because you can shine like a star when you are just alone in there. So I think those were one of the biggest challenges that I've encountered over the past few years. But now I do see that this during this time, it has been changing, right? So we see more people in the tech industry, we see more women there, and we see more women in the dealership groups, right? As the general managers, as the BDC directors, and so on. So yeah, so one of the things that I would suggest is not to be intimidated and try to be silent, but just to raise your voice and see that as an opportunity.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to ask Sue obviously the same question. And a lot of people will think as a dealer's kid that you didn't have many trials and tribulations, but I think that's probably the furthest thing from the truth.
I actually think that being a dealer's kid made it that much worse because if you're in a dealership, most people don't think much about the dealer kids. So not only did I have to overcome that barrier, but also being a woman. But really for me, I never ever looked at myself as a woman in a man's business. I only looked at myself as a person, and I was just going to go out there and do the best job that I could. And people, you gain people's respect, and life goes on. And so I kind of forgot that it was a man's business. I was at the auction. I did that for 15 years because I loved used cars, and it wasn't my job. I wasn't a used car manager, but I couldn't help myself. And so the guys treated me like their little sister, or most of them anyway. So I was very fortunate. And so I kind of forgot that it was a man's business. And I didn't realize until 2016, we won Hyundai's President's Award of Merit. We were the Dealer of the Year across Canada. Little old Courtney, #1 dealer. I was like, drop the mic, I'm done, career out. No, but they could have,
That's great.
Hyundai could have taken that and run with it. First female run dealership across the country, and they stuffed it because of some of the other gentlemen that didn't win. And at that time I went, oh boy, it still is a boys, it's a boys club. And yeah, so we're still overcoming it, unfortunately, and our numbers aren't increasing enough, in my opinion. there's less women going to the automotive school than when I went there 30 odd years ago. And I think that's really sad. So we need to find ways to bring women in.
Yeah, for darn sure, and I have to say the biggest challenge for a man supervising a woman is the fact that women will operate on a case of, no, I'm right, and let's move on. Whereas men will go, well, I think I'm right. And I do agree there should be more women in the field. And we had a comment made in the chat box from Christine Mitchell, who is the car lady. And she says, great to see you all, of course. And as a former tech, she knows what it's like to be in a woman in a man's role. And I got to tell you, what a challenge is to be a lady as a tech. But Kapi, I'll ask you the same question then. So what trials and tribulations did you go through?
Well, I'm going to age myself here. I entered the workforce in 1980. And that's when women had to wear those stupid little silk bow ties and little man suits because we had to kind of look like men to have credibility. What I've found is I've always kind of been a tomboy. So I've always actually preferred to be around guys. So the auto industry fit me just perfectly. Actually, most of the work that I've done has been in male-dominated industries. One of the challenges is absolutely what I'm sure every woman will say is that you're just a woman. Add to it, I'm a woman of color and I'm Asian. And so that came with it a whole lot of other stereotypes that I had to deal with. My first job out of college, people would literally, my first job was in Wisconsin. And I literally had people come up to me and say, you're not from around here, are you? And it was like, oh, come on, I walked into, I had to live in a hotel the first week of my stint in Wisconsin. And I literally walked in and the woman behind the desk yells across the lobby at me, "Hi, may I help you?" And I turned around and I looked and I thought, is there some old person who's hard of hearing behind me or something? And I realized she was talking to me. So I walked up and put my credit card down and said, "Yes, I would like a room." And what was interesting is my whole indoctrination was not only as a woman, but I was very young when I was I was right out of college. I still looked like I was 15. So I was young, I was Asian. And although I have no accent, people assumed because of my look that I didn't speak English. And if you speak louder, people who don't speak English understand you more. So those were my challenges. But with dealers, what I've learned is be direct, be transparent, get to the point, do it quickly because they got stuff to do. So that's been my lesson in the car business.
Thank you very much. That's a very I like that comment about the yelling because where we live here in Vancouver, we're a very large Asian population and from all over that area. So it's quite an interesting thing. And actually, Ian, that's a great idea for a show. We should have people from other cultures in the automotive industry. Gail, you're sitting there very patiently. I know some of your trials and tribulations, but share some more, share them with us.
Well, it's definitely been an interesting ride. So I'll share a couple because there's many. I guess the first one was when I first started in the industry. I was 16, 17 years old. I helped build a startup wholesale company. So we would buy cars in Canada and ship them to the US. And I worked for these three men and I built their entire business, wrote their operating manual, trained all their employees. And I was like, wow, I'm really good at this. I made them like $2 million. And then I looked at my paycheck and I was like, man, I only get paid $5 an hour. Like, this is totally insane. So I got fully taken advantage of, like beyond taken advantage of. And then I was like, wow, these men make a lot of money. Maybe I should change my strategy. So lo and behold, I go to Northwood University, I graduate, I go work for a car dealer group, and I'm kind of like Sue. So I started like washing cars and like I had to sell cars. And then so I was told, I was told by every man in the car business that if you want to play with the boys, you have to outperform them. And I'm like, what? Okay, so like I have to beat the 20 car guy and sell more than him, or there's 22 finance managers in a big dealer group. They're like, yeah, if you want to play with the boys and you want to be a general manager, you have to sell more than them and make more money. And I'm like, great, let's do this. I had no idea what I was doing. Like I was like, yeah, I'm smart, I'll figure it out. So anyway, throughout that whole process, you learn a lot about yourself. You have to look in the mirror every day and be like, I got this, I can do this, I can beat these guys. And a lot of them did not like me. So like the months that I would sell more cars, or like 1 month I beat 22 performance managers, I had the highest per unit in F&I, they hated me. They were like, golden child. I got called names. I was like, they're like, who does she think she is? And I'm like, guys, you made me a promise. You said I can have my own store if I beat all these guys. So like I've been working for 5 years to beat them. So eventually I got my own store and I got to run a dealership. And then, oh God, this is so funny. So I would trade a car in. Let's say I like traded a BMW or whatever. The wholesale director for the dealer group would steal my trade-ins because he knew that I could make like $4 or $5 grand off that car. So I'd come into work the next morning and the car would be gone. The car literally would be gone. Like they'd take the keys. So anyway, what they used to do to try to like bring me down, and I'm not kidding, is they'd shuffle the inventory. And then I'd be like, where's the car I just traded in? So anyway, I had to learn to kind of play with the boys and play their game and earn the respect. And eventually they realized they couldn't pull a fast one on me, and I was smarter. I was smarter than that. But even though they did those things to me, it was kind of fun. It could have made for a good comedy show. But I agree with kind of what Sopo and Cappy and Sue and everyone said. Like in this industry, if you're a woman, you're either you're gonna make it or you're gonna fail. Like it's kind of like one or the other, and you have to be really direct with the guys. Like there's no like with them, it's like if you need something, this is what I need. If something's wrong, this is what's wrong. But don't tell them something's wrong if you don't have a solution. So men are like simple creatures that are like, let's sell cars, let's make money. But don't give me all the like la-di-da-di-da, just be direct and blunt with me. I think Cappy said that. And so did Sopo. Like you just have to be, you can shine and there's a huge opportunity, but you have to be very direct and know what you're talking about. So it's been a wild ride.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
This may be a silly question. How do you feel you were dealt with differently than men in the same roles? I guess we'll start with Gail.
Sorry, say that again.
How do you feel you're dealt with differently than men in the same roles in your experience?
I don't know if I think how I was dealt with differently is they wanted to see what you were made of. Whereas I think some of the men would have gotten away with some of the things in the dealership. They were like, no, we're going to make Gail's life a little bit tougher. Like we're going to throw some curveballs at her and see if she's going to sink or swim. Whereas some of the things that they would do to me, I'm not necessarily sure if they would do them to the guys. But I think it also depends who you work for. Because I did in my career, I have worked for some men that were unbelievable mentors and they treated me the same way that they treated the men. So I think it also really reflects who you work for.
Great answer. Sue?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, a man would never be asked this question.
Right, yeah, right? Great point. Great point.
and that we still have to stand out as women in automotive and not just people in automotive still drives me crazy, obviously. But I think the biggest thing is preconceived ideas about what we know and what we can do and what we can accomplish. I went out, just another funny story. I went out one day to appraise a guy's car, and I was coming to the desk to introduce myself in the deal before I would do that. And I can hear him saying to the salesperson, well, can she even drive a standard? Yeah, I'm like, it's $1,000 less for your car, sir. But it literally was little things like that they didn't think you could possibly do this, you know. I think even my dad, I said I wanted to do this when I was 10 years old, and I think he patted me on the head and said, yep, yes, sure, honey. So yeah.
Sofo?
Yeah, so I think it highly depends on the mentor, as Gail said, right? So what are the environment that you work in, right? So for me, having those mentors in my past career and my current career has helped me to understand that male mentor, I mean, you can also have a male mentor, right? And it's definitely okay to have them. And you should be getting the support and respect that you deserve. And if it's something that you are not currently feeling during that work environment, you should just leave and change the environment that you are in. So for me, having that mentor and having that people who have an experience in automotive industry, because I had no prior experience in that industry, and it can be tough, and it involves a lot of processes that you need to understand, and you have to have someone on your back who can help you to guide you through this journey. And this is the very important aspect of that.
Fantastic. Cappy?
I come from a different area because all of my other fellow guests have been in retail. I have not in the auto industry. However, I've been in sales my entire life. And I think that's where I established credibility with my dealers, is because I understand sales. I understand sales and marketing process. Where I had a challenge is that they wanted to test. Well, what do you know? And they wanted to test how tough I was. I had one dealer, and I was working on this program that was essentially, we were the continuous arm of General Motors. And I walked in, this dealer made me wait for 45 minutes. And you say, well, why did you wait for 45 minutes? And I say, because I wanted to see how really rude this guy really was. So he walks in, and his GSM and his sales manager were like, oh, you're in trouble. And I thought, yeah, bring it on. So he walked in and he looked at me and he said, he just let it out and just ranted for a good 20 minutes about this program that I was representing and that I was there to help him with. And when he got through, this is what I did. That's all I did. And you should have seen the wind come out of his sails. And he looked at me and he said, well, I guess you didn't create the program. I said, no, I didn't. I said, I also didn't hold a gun to your head, so you had to stroke that check for $35,000. Now, if you want to get that $35,000 back and make all your bonuses in subsequent quarters, that's what I'm here for. So your call. And from that moment on, I had his respect. I had credibility with the guy. And I think to everybody's point here, you have to stick up for yourself. You can't be a weenie.
Yeah.
This.
Oh my God, I love it. You have to.
Yeah. You know, and Sue, what you were saying about getting more women in, I was just listening to a podcast with Brene Brown and Melinda Gates. Melinda Gates' research said that if we don't start getting more women into industries, it will take us 60 years before we reach equality. 60 years. So it's time.
Yeah, well, that's very true. And it's interesting your comment you made. You just went, and you know something, it's very true. And one thing as a man in the industry dealing with men is a lot of the times that the boss, the dealer principal, etc., you know, they know how to deal with men. But when it comes to a woman that doesn't sit there and go, yes, sir, it's, uh-oh, what do I do? So what is the number one misconception of women in automotive, Sue? What do you think?
Oh, wow, that we don't know, you know, or that we're going to be difficult, I think is a big one. We're going to be harder to deal with, you know, and I don't think this is going to be political. Sorry, guys, I have to go there. I don't think that women have done themselves any huge favors over the last few years with the Me Too movement. I think that we've made it harder, you know, probably not us in the room because we don't look at the world that way. But I think women in general have made it harder for men to trust that it's going to be an okay working relationship. And yeah, it's unfortunate that we had to go there. I think we just took 5-10 steps back, and we need to now start taking those steps forward. That didn't really answer your question, but I think it's a really important thing to get out there. I don't know, ladies, do you agree with that? I can see Kathy nodding her head.
Well, you know, Sue, I'm so with you. It's like I said, you don't get to be a weenie in this industry.
Yeah.
And if you're a woman, you really can't be a weenie. I have worked with other female consultants who tried to pull oh, I'm just a single mom and I can't, and it's like, oh, stop. One of the things I do love about when I look at my fellow guests, and this is what I do love about women who are firmly embedded in the auto industry, is there's the confidence, there's the take the bull by a horns attitude. And that's what I love about the women who are successful in the automotive industry. I have one dealer that he loves to hire athletes because what he says, and that means female as well as male, because in the athletic world, it's a different mindset. It's a winning mindset. It's a, no BS mindset. Just get the job done, get the result. And that's what I see with my fellow guests, is that you guys are awesome. You guys are really awesome as far as getting out there, getting those results.
Terrific. Yeah, that's very true there. And very interesting comment about that movement, because I can see what you're saying, because many cases as a man supervising women has changed because you're afraid of what you're going to say. And people should be afraid, frankly. They shouldn't say, listen, just go in the back there and just do this, that, or be rude or anything else. However, it can be a little bit, you feel like you're walking on thin ice. Gail, how about yourself?
Can you repeat the question again? Sorry, I got really into what they were saying and I forgot what the question was.
No problem. In your opinion, what's the number one misconception of women in automotive?
The number one misconception.
I'm stumping you there. You want me to move on and while you think?
The misconception, I don't know. I guess if I had to say something, it's just that I don't know, the men just look at you a little bit differently. I'm not sure I really understand why. I think the world is changing. I think that that old school way of thinking is really no longer, and women have proven themselves and earned the respect. But I don't know. I mean, Jeff, when you met me and I was your vAuto rep, I don't really know what you thought of me until maybe you got to know me and you were like, man, this girl's done a lot of stuff in the car business, right? I remember I walked into your dealership. I don't even remember if you guys took my phone calls, but my boss was like, no, you go show up at their dealership and you talk to them about appraising cars. And you guys might have a misconception, like, who is this girl at Viato? And like, does she actually know how to appraise cars? But then once you and I talked, it was totally different. So, I mean, I feel like most used car appraisers feel that way. So, like, have they ever done the job? Do they know how to do it? I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions.
Yeah. Well, I have to say the only misconception that I had nothing to do with you or you as a woman was in many cases, sometimes the performance managers sent in by the big tech companies, etc., really haven't walked a mile in a dealer's shoe and a manager's shoes or anything else, be that man or woman. They just come in because they got a job and they said, go in and talk about algorithms.
Right.
And, that sort of thing.
Well, now I have one other thing to say. Actually, now, because of that reason, so we only hire at Retail Resilient anyone that's an account manager that has to deal directly with an auto dealer. I won't even hire them if they've never worked in retail. Like, I wouldn't even consider them for the job position, because they do have to walk in your shoes and they do have to know what you guys do and how hard you work and what the job entails, or how do they have it is difficult to have that conversation if you've never desked a car deal or you've never sold a car. It's more challenging. It's not that someone can't do it, it's just more challenging to build that connection.
Yeah, for sure. And that's probably what Sue ran into when she started in the dealerships, and everybody went, yeah, what do you know?
Who is that little girl?
Yeah, exactly.
Or
and
Cappy.
You weren't the tallest person on earth.
I mean, no. Cappy said that, like, when you sat down with that dealer and you're like, look, I'm the lady that's going to show you how to get this money and hit your objectives. So are you in or you out? Like, I mean, you can earn their respect, but it's a different connection you're building because you haven't sold a car in a car dealership. It's just a little bit different.
And, and Gail, one of the other things I want to say too, is that if you are coming into the car industry as a consultant and a woman, when I came in, I didn't know a whole lot except the sales process. I sort of knew that. I knew nothing about the service side of the business. And so if you're smart, one of the things you do is you identify somebody in a dealership that you're working with that you like and trust. And with this one particular dealer, I said, when we went out to lunch, and I said, Dennis, when we get back to the dealership, I want you to take off your dealer hat, put on your professor hat. And he spent 3 hours taking me through from step 1 to step 0, how the service side works. So, if you ask dealers to help you, they will help you. Yeah. If you don't know, they like to be the experts. They are the experts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sopo, we've been leaving you in the desk chair while we're answering that, and I know your experience is very much closer to Cappy than say Gail or Sue's. But again, the question is, what's the number one misconception of women in automotive? In other words, what is the number one thing that people just don't get or think that all women in automotive are?
That's a great question. So I think in the dealership, there are some of the positions that that just know that it is suitable for female, right? So, and I don't think that's quite that. So let's say for a clerk or an accountant, usually they hire women over male, right? So but over the course of the period of time, we know that female can lead sales, they can lead service departments, they can be good at administrative tasks and do well in customer experience. So I think one of the misconceptions is that, these are the positions that can be held by women and these are the positions that can be held by men. And you should not look that way. So there are both, there are all the positions that women can hold and are capable of doing because they know they can learn similarly, like a male would learn, right? So I think the perspective that we might have that is different is something that can fill all the positions that a dealership may have.
Great point.
Got
Great.
one more, guys.
Yeah.
And that is that not all women want to run out and have babies. And I think a lot of younger women in the business get passed over management positions because their bosses assume that they want to go and have a family, and they go, I don't want to train them to be greater in the business because they're going to be gone for 4 or 5 years, whatever it may be. And we're not all like that.
Right.
So
Good point.
Well, I had an interesting experience over the weekend. I was visiting with one of our clients, and we were talking specifically around internet process at dealers. They happen to be a Highline store. And I was talking about a dealer group in the local market that integrated that sales process with a BDC department that happened to be female driven, and a sales department, which in this case happened to be male. And they were working together in tandem as a team. And I thought that was a really unique way to look at it, where basically the manager realized that the salesperson's attention span wasn't good enough to take that through the whole process from initial lead to sale. So they tied up the people that together, one was obviously more focused on customer experience and the other was more focused on the short term. And I think that's an interesting combination, using gender, but also skill sets that are unique to gender to really win. And I thought that was just a really interesting example of, looking at the strengths and weaknesses of people, maybe not just based on gender, but having them work together as a team, as opposed to being at loggerheads, saying this person can't do it and that person can and whatever. So I thought that was really interesting. Anyway, what advice would you give to a lady who's entering your area of the car business? Let's start with Sofo, from creating an online startup, I guess.
Yeah. So I think, you don't have to have an experience in automotive industry to be there, right? So I think not being afraid of the processes that the automotive industry has is one of the main things you need to consider. And women should be supporting women in that community. So in our case, we have a diverse workforce that we work with, and there are challenges that you need to face for sure. There are more steps that you need to take in order to climb to the top, but there's always an opportunity. There should be always an opportunity to grow, and this is one of the main things that the advice that I would like to give.
Gail?
I would say wholeheartedly, wake up in the morning, take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out, set your mind. Like, I'm very into mindfulness and like conscious living. So like, set your game, like your mind, get your head right, and then walk into the industry wherever you are and just like do your best, right? Like every day, just do your best. Man, woman, doesn't matter. Like, go in it, put your heart in it. If you put your heart in it, I feel like you'll be successful. But just like when you wake up, get your head right, be like, I got this, look in the mirror, I'm good at what I do, this is what I'm strong at, and then just like let yourself shine. There's people that are gonna like you, there's people that aren't gonna like you, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, and just go for it and give it like the heart that you got, and just go from there.
Cool. Cappy, being a woman training men in auto, I guess training people, some of which happen to be men. What's your advice?
Well, I'm going to say that it doesn't matter what industry you're in the relationship industry. And if you are seeking, I refer to myself as a relationship seeking missile. And if you can't connect with people, I don't care how good you are at what you do, you're not going to be successful. So one of the things I always say too, because I've done a lot of career consulting as well, is first of all, when you go into an industry, a company, whatever, watch, look, observe. see who the players are, see who's successful, who are the game players. There's you'll excuse my expression, there's an old, know where the wolves pee, because a lot of times the named leader isn't always the leader. It's that subtle leader who is just under the surface. So the other thing that I will say is look for excellence. I love what Gail's saying. It's about your mindset, and it's about finding somebody who's doing what you want to do excellently. Tony Robbins says that if you model what somebody's doing successfully, success leads clues. So find that model. I always tell young salespeople, look at the top salesperson, watch what they do, watch what they say, listen to them, ask them to mentor you. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. More likely they will. So observe, listen, ask.
Fantastic. Sue, growing to succeed at running a dealership.
One thing that really worked well for us, and I've kept it, and that was branding. And I think personal branding is so important, not for man, woman, whatever. And as Gail said, your personal branding starts every morning when you look in the mirror, right? And that you can do it. And Super Sue, I have some other challenges in life, and Super Sue is still my brand. It's still me today. My family called me Super. It was so good. It was so effective. But the biggest thing actually, besides the branding, was team. And that was building the team of amazing people that I got to work with at the dealership, and now actually at the college. And the success to building a team is relationships. And I think that women are very strong at building great relationships. And that, I think, is kind of the secret to our success, is that we're great relationship builders. So ladies, I hope you agree with that. But yeah, having a great team. Look for, like Cappy said, look for great people and, be around them.
I just want to share with you, I was in the gym one day, and I was laying there on the bench getting ready to bench press. And it was kind of interesting because I was listening to two different conversations. On my right side were two guys, and on my left side were two women. And the guys were talking about the game last night. And the women, well, so how did she handle that situation? And well, what did she think about that guy? And it was so funny to actually hear the differences on what men focus on and what women focus on. And like you said, if you can combine those things in a dealership, boy, you've got a real powerhouse.
Yeah, that's for very, very interesting feedback there. It's nice to get new people's opinions on it, not to mention new people such as yourself from just such very different areas. So our final question might be a bit of a lit match over a puddle of gasoline. But what's the one thing that's really got to change in our business in relation to women as a power? And let's see who's chomping at I see Sue sitting there just dying to answer this one.
The one thing that has to change, I think that we need to start to get more women in the business. We need to start changing how we look for women in the business, because women don't come to the car business typically. It's just not something they even look at. They just glance right over the ad. And so we need to go out, we need to start recruiting women into this business from different areas. You used to see when you go out for a great dinner and you had a great male waiter, you'd card him because you'd think, wow, he'd make a great salesperson, right? How many guys have done it? We've all done it. And we need to start doing that with women in different areas and saying, you probably never thought about this career, but you really should. And here's why. And if we don't start actively recruiting women, We're not going to see women climb. We're not going to see the women managers. We're not going to see the women having stores of their own, etc. Gail and myself in retail were just a total rarity. And even today, and I just think, yeah. So there you go.
It's a very interesting point you made there. And I actually view it slightly different because we're seeing more and more women, it's still not anywhere near what it should be in the positions of power, in the managers and the principals, etc. But we're not seeing a lot of women below that in the non-traditional, other than Christine, of course, who just left us to go for Family Day. But in the non-traditional women roles, which is a problem, but in the sales and the service writers, there's some, but it's still, a lot of the women that have got anything going for them get up there to be managers and general managers and dealer principals. And that's, it's an interesting point. If they got to rise, they got to go through there, but then they leave it.
But some of my best service writer, I made my young parts runner within, 4 years, she became the parts manager and she was brilliant. But it was because I looked outside the box of that's the parts girl and saw what she could be and what she had. And we worked with her to make her a parts manager. And, it's seeing beyond what we think, beyond our perceived notions of what that person's capable of.
Sue, I have been saying this to dealers since I got into the automotive industry. I've said to service managers, stop hiring service advisors. Hire people who like people. You can teach them the skills.
Yep.
Right? And as far as women go, I'll tell you, I had no idea until I got into the business how much money people can make.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Gail, to your point, holy man, when you said, wait a minute, how am I getting $5 an hour and these guys are making all the big bucks?
Yeah.
And, my aha was I had a dealer who had a sales manager who literally had never stepped on a college campus. He was 17 years old. And the boy was pulling down $8,000 a month because he was good with relationships. He could communicate with people and he knew how to ask the closing question. And I thought, holy cats, this is the one industry that you can literally build a business inside a business and not have any of the overhead. And the dealer's not going to complain if you sell more cars, are they, Sue?
No.
Nope.
No. Not really that much.
Although I did know one that did. We're always very respectful of time and we try to stop right on the hour. So we'll just go to Sopo and just then final comments. Sopo, so what's the one thing that's got to change in the car business in relation to women is the power?
Yeah, I think giving the equal opportunity, whether they're male or female, is very crucial because respectively, they both can excel in the careers and the positions that any of them can take. So I think giving them the equal opportunity is something that is crucial, and being rewarded on that with the same salary, same commission is something that will definitely motivate them to excel and increase the core value of the company itself.
Great comments, great comments. Ian.
Well, Gail didn't do a final comment, did she?
No, but I agree with everyone. I think, actually, you know what I think we should do? I think the four of us, I love this group of women. I think we should post something on Facebook, boost the post, run a traffic ad, and just blow Facebook up and talk about women and how much money they can make in the car business.
I love it.
Like, I'm down. If you guys
how much AutoHub still likes you.
But I'm totally down to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
We would love it.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Definitely.
I friend
And it's my-
requested all of you on Facebook already, by the way. So like, just check your friend requests.
Sure.
That's all for
Wonderful.
me. That was a great show. So
Thank you,
Anybody else?
gentlemen, for pulling us all together.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so glad to meet everybody and from all over the world. It's excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Thanks so
thank
much
you
for
all.
inviting me.
no worries. Our pleasure.
Yeah.
It is our
Thank
pleasure,
you.
and we appreciate you taking your time. And, frankly, in Canada, it's a family day. In the States, it's President's Day. In Georgia, it's the restaurant opening day. So
Yeah, it's Monday. Typical work
well,
day.
too much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good week.